Head over to mypillow.com/Tim and buy pillows. But also, you notice this energy drink here, Rev 7. So we actually have a whole bunch of this stuff. I actually ordered a bunch more. It is amazing. Look at that. Mike Lindell with his delicious keto lemonade energy drink. I drink about one of these per day. It's caffeine free. It's got no sugar. It's got what's called Go BHB ketones. I am a huge fan of this stuff. I'm going to tell you right away, they all taste like candy. I don't know how they do it, but they are delicious and there's no sugar in it. My favorite one's the blueberry citrus. Lemonade is really good. And the green apple is also really good. And if you're a green apple candy fan, it is like a Jolly Rancher. Maybe I shouldn't say that because it's proprietary, whatever. So my friends, right now, My Pillow's having two sales in one. First is on their Percali bed sheets, any size and any color, just $29.88. That's right. You can even get queens, kings, split kings, cal kings, any size, any color. The second is a new energy drink called Rev 7, a premium energy drink that's actually good for you. It tastes great, gives you energy all day, plus it has no sugar, no caffeine, so you don't experience those jitters and crashes we've all been through. What makes it special is that it's powered by Cognizin, a premium nootropic that helps fuel your mind, and Go BHB, which is a primary ketone in your body that provides the most efficient and cleanest fuel ever. My Pillow is so confident that you're going to love Rev 7 for a limited time. You can try their introductory 3-pack for free when you set up a bi-weekly subscription. So go to mypillow.com, use promo code Tim, or go ahead and call 800-925-9096. Again, go to mypillow.com/Tim, use promo code Tim. I really do recommend these energy drinks. We have a bunch of them. They're my favorite. I don't want sugar. I don't want any of that. I don't want extra caffeine. This stuff, it really does work. Here's the story from Disclosed TV. Actually, it's a clip from C-SPAN. Trump repeats that the Epstein files are a made-up Democrat hoax. Here's the clip, ladies and gentlemen.
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well. And it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release, yeah.
So he's saying the files are a hoax. What does he mean by that? Is he saying that the actual documents they have, they're not going to release because he's saying it's made up by Comey and Obama and that crew? Does he really expect that everyone's going to buy that? I think I don't think it's going to work.
I think the administration has been so careless with the rollout of this stuff. I'm almost to the point where no matter what they actually do put out for public consumption, people are going to feel like there's more. People are going to feel like it's not enough. There's other things that are being hidden. These press conferences and speaking to the press and not having all your ducks in a row is probably the worst thing that they could have done. And it's really hurt the MAGA base, the base's trust in the administration.
It's also given the Democrats a really big opening, right? I mean, we see that now, too. We see AOC being like, oh, of course, if you have a rapist in the White House, then you're not going to release the Epstein tapes. You have Ro Khanna coming out and being like, basically, the Democrats are like, we're going to release the files to every single bill you guys put forth, which is a big stunt, but is what they're doing. And today they, over the weekend, Epstein was a huge deal at Turning Point USA Student Action Summit. Everyone had something to say about it. Jack Posobiec, Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Megyn Kelly. There was an awful lot to talk about, Tucker Carlson. And then today you have Trump. First, he calls it a hoax. He also then said that Pam Bondi should release any remaining files. And then he repeated that later, I think on the tarmac at Andrews. He said, let them have it, release any credible information.
What does that mean, credible information?
I have no idea what that means. I mean, does it mean like the stuff that's not the victims? Nothing about the victims. Does it mean the grand jury testimony? Does it mean depositions?
Guys, just help me out here. Why is if I don't understand what's going on? Why doesn't Trump just lie better?
Well, I was at the I was in Tampa too for that event, and yeah, I mean that was the talk. I mean, even everyone in the base is pretty much pissed off about this whole Epstein thing. And hell, I debated Destiana a little bit as well about it, and I gave my position on it yesterday. I don't think we're ever going to get it because of the sensitive nature, where I think there's going to be other foreign nations implicated. We know which one, especially in the Middle East. But first it was there's no files, nothing to see here. Now it's just release whatever's credible. It just looks bad. And then you were saying, Phil, how like they rolled this out poorly. I agree. As soon as they brought those idiots over to the White House and gave the binders of the flight logs, which we had already all saw before,
and it was more redacted than information already in the public.
Yes, it was really bad. So this entire Epstein situation has been 100% fumbled, right? With the JFK stuff, they fumbled that a little bit too, but let's be honest, the people that care about JFK and crazies like me and some others, but it's so old, most of the people are dead from it, but Epstein people are interested in, right? Because it was recent. So they can't fumble that one as bad. So,
I think people care about it because it gets to the question of this deep suspicion that we can't trust the people in charge of our government and that we don't know who's in charge. Ron Dodson had a great tweet thread about this, that it's kind of a Rorschach test. If you try so hard to not care about this, it's worth being suspicious about you, right? But to the rest of us, and I do think normal people care about this, actually. It's this final kind of window into a potential loss of faith of the integrity of, I'm not going to say the integrity of our democracy, but who's in charge?
No, I mean, to that point, you look at the past 25 years, the lies about the Iraq War. Then the Democrats swore up and down that they weren't targeting Republicans, but there was the IRS Lois Lerner scandal. Then you have the whole Biden administration. There was COVID where we were lied to. There was like, the young people in America have never known a time, Gen Z I'm talking about, have never known a time where the government wasn't just lying outright. At least people my age can look back and say, well, before the turn of the century, there were times where the government was dishonest, but they were, trying to do this, or we had some amount of faith. Maybe it was misplaced, but we had some amount of faith that the government was being honest. If you're a Gen Z, you're like, look, the government has been lying for my entire life. I've never known anything other than the government to lie to us. They ruined my. If you're 25 now, they ruined you as a young person. They destroyed. You couldn't go to your prom. You couldn't go do activities with your friends.
The stage.
All these things that were absolutely stolen from Gen Z because of lies. So now they're hoping that Donald Trump is going to actually be, responsive to the things that they want. And it looks like in at least this case, he's not. And you're going to see Gen Z is not going to tolerate that.
And the other thing too is, you brought up a good point there. They had alternative media. We didn't. So we fell for they hate us because we're free. We fell for we need to go ahead and invade them because of weapons of mass destruction. Like, we had only the mainstream media back then. But like these younger people, they've had social media and had alternative media. So for them, mainstream media is like a dying thing. Like, we still watch it to a degree because that's what we grew up on. But alternative media is taking over, and this past election proves that.
Yes.
So
and that was Andrew Breitbart was really one of the first people coming out being alternative media, right? And that was mid to late 90s.
Really? Was that long ago?
Yeah, because
wasn't it Drudge?
Yeah, Drudge. Well,
I was gonna say Alex Jones.
He was breaking.
Oh, yeah.
He broke wasn't he part of breaking the Lewinsky dress thing?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
I think I was like 7.
I recently did I try and do some digging when I don't know something and figure it out. And yeah, Breitbart was part of the Lewinsky dress thing.
He used to be a liberal.
Because it was on Drudge. Yeah, Southern California.
Right.
Like, you had to like go searching for it versus like now, like people would rather just watch their favorite, political commentator than like watch the news, which is what I've realized. Like, it's like completely different where it's like before 20 years ago, mainstream media was it, right? Alternative media, it still existed, but like you had to go looking for it. Now it's like people are like, you know what? I'd rather just see what my favorite political commentators got to say about this versus CNN.
Just to play like devil's advocate for a second. So all these files were basically like alleged, files were in the Eastern District of New York, right? Like the prosecutors had them there. Southern District. Yeah. So do we think that there could be a situation where they had a bunch of information and either trashed it or misplaced it, or because these would have been a lot of analog files, or even like at best they would have been like, those big square floppy disks.
Yeah, so I could talk to that a little bit. So so the thing with the Epstein, which makes it so complicated and why it's so convoluted, is because it was a criminal case and there's an intelligence aspect, right? So we know that the FBI did a criminal case. They picked him up in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. 2018 they arrested him, and then he ended up dying in the summer of 2019. So Southern District of New York and FBI New York is the one that ran the criminal case. Now, obviously, the criminal case is going to have stuff that's unclassified because criminal cases, you can't put anything classified in there, or you have to declassify it to use it. So they have that. And then Ghislaine Maxwell, we know, went to trial. So you can go, anyone that went to the trial would be able to see a lot of the evidence that probably would have been used against Epstein himself. But with that said, there's obviously going to be a classified, or what we call a high side. I know you know about that from the military. There's going to be a high side. And that's going to have a lot of the stuff that has to do with potentially him being a counterintelligence agent or whatever. And I was saying this yesterday, I think the people that are really going to have a lot of the info, it's not going to just be the FBI. The FBI is going to have a piece of the pie. It's going to be the CIA because of him being potentially involved with a foreign intelligence service. CIA handles, foreign. So I think Tulsi Gabbard has far more of a role in this situation, or should have far more of a role in this situation than a Pam Bondi, because the DOJ is not going to be privy to stuff from the IC unless it comes from the FBI. And the FBI is just one component of the IC versus all the other intelligence apparatus.
To your point, no, it's perfectly fine. But to your point, even if Congress were to have passed the bill today and it were signed into law, Congress doesn't have the ability to declassify stuff. So it would still take the president saying, these things that are classified, well, I'll declassify them so people can see them. So it doesn't matter what Congress does when it comes to things that would have been classified by CIA or DNI or whatever.
Yeah, and because I know Tulsi Gabbard, right, since she's over at DNI, because this is what I assume, and I think I'd love to get your take on this too, being a former military guy. Like, obviously, the FBI has a piece of the pie with the criminal case and then what he was doing, right? Because based off of them doing their investigation, they had to have come across what he was doing and how he was been able to be protected for so long. Then I know the CIA is absolutely going to have a file on him because he was collecting intelligence for a foreign country. Then I know DIA, NSA, all these different components are going to have all the information. The only person I could think of that's going to have everything in totality, more than likely, or at least will have access to it, is going to be Tulsi Gabbard. And she is the main conduit of information that gives it to the president, right? We know Trump distances himself from the intelligence components because he doesn't really trust them. So Tulsi Gabbard's going to have everything. So I think that's what the people really want. Like, obviously, we kind of know who's on the client list already. We kind of know what he was doing. We want to know who he was working for, what he was doing specifically, how he was going about it, methodologies and modes. So I think that's where a lot of the sauce is going to be. The FBI, they're getting held accountable for sure, and Pam Bondi's getting made fun of. But I do think that there is a significant amount of intel that's going to be with the intelligence community.
It would be nice to see some journalists going after, or at least investigating where he got his money, who was actually investing with him. There's not a lot of information that's out there about who was actually giving him money, how much, what type.
We know it's Les Wexner, but yeah, they keep him out the fray, right?
Wasn't the issue the original search warrant in 2008 or 2009 was so weak that it essentially allowed them to take a modicum of action to investigate him while allowing a cover-up?
The bare minimum.
Well, so in that, I think to give President Trump the benefit of the doubt, he's probably in a situation where there is perhaps not much else, and so to release the files would only be to fuel speculation, disappoint his base.
No, finish.
Well, and so I think he's when he says that it's a hoax. I don't think he's lying to us, but. I think he's trying to prepare us for disappointment.
But this is
or he might not be able to control.
What if Epstein is a hoax and Democrats, they made the whole thing up with Comey during Trump's first term? They were like, if he ever gets back in, we're going to seed this. They're going to start promoting the conspiracy theory, and then it will be a hoax and there will be no files at all. Sorry, that's kind of like the least believable thing imaginable. That the Democrats made up the Epstein files, Cash, Trump all campaigned on this, and then they get in and then go, well, it was a hoax. Like, dude, I'm sorry, I can't.
Although it is a good way to ruin credibility.
The left media, which I agree with this 100%, CNN has published several stories on this. A lot of these guys on the left wing have been absolutely going at, I've seen Hassan, Kyle Klinsky, all these guys are like loving it. Like, yes, look, MAGA's going crazy because this is something that Kash Patel and, Bongino, all these guys campaigned on or talked about in their podcast, because a lot of these guys were former influencers. And then for them to get into power and then be like, oh, there's nothing here, or it's not getting, they're not putting out the information. you know, obviously it looks very bad, and like the Democrats are loving it right now. It's a big W for them in their eyes.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.